What's up, guys? This is Kaylee Johnson here with Digital Journey. If you're a person that's wanting to learn social media, maybe that's just for you personally, maybe it's for your business, this is the right place for you. Well, today we have with us Stephanie Riel. Stephanie, thank you so much for coming on.
It's so good to be here. Thank you, Kaylee.
Stephanie has an amazing journey. She is a 14-year entrepreneur, investor, speaker, branding consultant to 6- and 7-figure businesses, turned holistic business mentor. So she has done almost anything and everything. Stephanie is also a former marketing agency owner and branding expert who took her own life from burnout to bliss, is what she calls it. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you've done so many of these amazing things.
Well, I think it starts out at the beginning and doing things without a lot of intention and alignment to start with. You know, I started my first business at 22. And so there's so much when you're still in college that you don't know. And even when I first started, the side hustle wasn't a thing. It is now, but all my friends just thought I was crazy because I was working for somebody else and then working on my business on the evenings and weekends. But it's allowed me to live a lot of lifetimes and do a lot of different things. And so that first business turned into a full service marketing agency and we had a lot of success and grew, to multiple 6 figures. I had a team and clients all over the country, which was amazing.
Wow. Especially,
but it wasn't really, well, and it took a while, right? It took some time to get there, but it wasn't necessarily really what I intended to do. And so I think that's when I share about going from burnout to bliss, I am such an empathetic guide for those who are in that situation now because I lived it. And, I had told myself, oh, it's my own business. I can't get burnt out. I had worked for other people and I was like, oh, I was so burnt out. I was working with them. And I told myself along the way that you couldn't get burnt out if it was your own business. And that was just me gaslighting myself because I was burnt out, being so out of alignment. And so it took, a lot of deep reflection and inner work on myself to really realize that that wasn't what I really wanted to do. And it didn't support the life that I wanted. It didn't even, I was spending so much time on the business, like working 16 to 18 hour days, no exaggeration.
Wow.
And my body was whispering to me all along that things were maybe off or that I wasn't supposed to be doing that. But then I would get a major client deal or whatever and be like, oh, this must be the right path. Right. And so I think through that journey, I was able to really come back to myself and take a more holistic approach to healing, with sound healing and meditation and somatics and heal myself. So now I can heal others.
That's amazing. Wow. So what exactly, tell us a little bit about what you do now.
Yeah. So I am now a sound healing facilitator. So I do sound healing meditation, all over Arizona and for clients all over the country. And then, I'm actually getting ready to host, an international retreat. We're going to Costa Rica in the fall.
Wow.
And bringing together a group of women who just need a retreat from their business. So I help entrepreneurs maybe who just know they're not feeling their best and they're constantly stressed out, as so many of us are. And I help them come back to themselves and find that inner connection and that inner peace. Or people that maybe are wanting to start a business and they haven't yet, but they're trying to figure out the best way to do it, that they're not going to be overextending themselves.
Right.
And since I lived that journey, it's so much easier to help the person we were before. So I really help those individuals do it in a really intentional way with a regulated nervous system, through sound healing, but also through other modalities, meditation, breath work, tapping.
Yeah, I know as an entrepreneur, you're so excited about starting off a business that you're willing to put hours and hours in. And, I was doing the same, working 12-hour, 16-hour days because I was enjoying it. And then I started listening to other entrepreneurs who'd been going for a while and they were like, yes, you enjoy it now, but if you keep this up, you're not going to enjoy it. You have to take that time.
Carve out space. Yeah.
Yes. You have to take that time to take care of your body. And even though it was hard to cut back and start focusing more on what's a healthy amount to work, it's actually made it where I enjoy work more. Because now I might take the weekend off, whereas I wasn't before, and I'm excited to get back to work on Monday.
Absolutely, because you get a break to refresh.
Yes.
And it's like I needed a dose of my own medicine because up until 2022, I had never taken a vacation in my business.
Wow.
So I started my business at 22 years old, in 2022, I was 34. So 12 years, I had never taken a vacation. I always had my laptop, my phone with me. I even got married and brought my laptop with me and intended to work during the wedding.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm since happily divorced, but yeah, I brought the laptop with me to the wedding. I was like, oh, I'm going to work while I'm here, right? I can carve out some time to work, even when I'm getting married.
Yeah. And even I still sometimes find myself in that rut. I was in a big play this past weekend and found myself bringing my iPad to do work in between scenes. And I was like, no. You need to be present in this moment, and you need to be intentional with the time you have.
That's amazing. I have a theater background. I'm a theater kid at heart too. So I did theater all throughout high school and into college. I don't do as much anymore, but that's a big undertaking in itself. So good for you for getting to be present in the moment and enjoy the production and enjoy that performance, because as you know, every show is a little bit different, and every moment of our lives, every day of our lives is a little bit different too. So when we're not present to it, we miss out on that.
Absolutely. That's so true. One thing you talk a lot about is intentionality. And I think one thing that can help take care of yourself is being intentional from the start. So what are some tips you have for creating an intentional brand when starting up a company or a small business?
This is one of my favorite things to talk about, because in the branding work, so I still do some branding consulting, but it's all with really aligned clients. And I often do like a refresh of branding. I often work with a lot of businesses that are in the health and wellness space, because that's the space that I'm really passionate about and have been for a long time. But I think that's something that we as humans get to take ourselves through, but we get to take our businesses through it too, because when we don't build, and I had a coach tell me this years ago, when you don't build with the end in mind, or that end goal or intention, it's like driving without a map. You don't really know where you're going. Yes, you might go in the general direction. You might say, oh, hey, I want to go north. Okay, you might be heading kind of north, but if you don't have intention, you might head over here when you really want it to be due north. And so, you might head over to the left or the right and get astray from that goal. And so what that really comes down to is the intention of the business as a whole, and whether it's a personal brand or a business brand.
Yes.
How do you want your customer to feel? What's that end goal? What is it about your business that makes you or the business uniquely qualified to offer that product or service, whatever it is? And then how do you want to show up, and how do you want your consumer to feel? And then it's almost like once we have that mission statement, a lot of times it ends up being your mission or your values, that tangible representation of how you want your business, or I can even say, be as bold as to say for ourselves too, right? Like once we're aligned with those core values or what that mission is, then we're constantly checking every decision to that. Is this offer going to support what I want my customers to feel? Is it going to be in their best and highest good? Same thing in our lives, even is hanging out with this friend that I've been friends with for a really long time, even though we've kind of grown apart. Is that really in alignment with my ultimate highest path? And so I think when we can look through that lens and be more intentional about our day-to-day decisions, whether it's our lives or our businesses, that's really how we build an intentional brand from the start, because we know where we want to go, and then we're not willing to compromise or sacrifice to go away from that endpoint.
I love what you say about not being willing to compromise. One of the things we focus on at Digital Journey is authenticity. And that's what's going to set you apart from other people, because there's a good chance you are not the only person offering your service or your product.
Absolutely.
But you can be the exception by being authentic. And people often view feelings as a negative thing, and something that can be manipulated too easily in businesses.
And the magic of branding.
Yeah. And, it's like, oh, I can't use their feelings because that's manipulative. It's like, no, we all have feelings, and feelings are connected to everything. But we need to choose how to be authentic with that, and how to encourage them to use our product or our services if it's right for them, and not just because we're trying to make a buck. And so I love that about, going back to your core values, so that you don't get distracted by how much money am I making, or how much is my fame growing, but how much am I doing what I set out to do.
And even on this side of it for the clients, not just doing what the client necessarily wants too, right? They hire us a lot of times to be,
Right.
I'm putting on my marketing and branding hat, but I think sometimes we get in our own way. And I think we do this in life. We do it in business, but it's like, no, you know, maybe that campaign or that giveaway isn't really going to have the end goal we want it to have,
Right.
or have our customer feeling the way they want to feel. And so it's, when we look through that lens, it changes our marketing. It changes how we show up in the world. It's a really powerful thing to be authentic. And that is the biggest gift that any of us can have, because there's only one of us. There's only one of our business. And
Right.
so getting to shine up in that instead of trying to be like everybody else, that's boring.
Right. And if you try to be like everybody else, you're going to be a nobody. You're going to
Exactly. You get lost in the crowd.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So kind of going off of that, you talk about personal development. What's the impact of personal development when you're a business owner?
Oh my gosh. I often say that, and I did not come up with this saying, but I heard it and it's so good. I wish I could give credit to where I heard it from, but the biggest personal development journey you can ever take is entrepreneurship. And it tracks.
So true.
It's just, it makes you face a lot of parts of yourself. You know, I think for a lot of my journey, and when I was younger, before I really found personal development and started doing the inner work, I tried to compartmentalize, and I put my business, you know, in one hand, and then my life was in the other hand. And I was like, oh, great,
Right.
we're all coexisting. Nothing's overlapping, but I'm one human. Of course it's going to show up that way. And
Yeah,
so
you don't have split personalities. You're not going to be able to separate it that much.
Exactly. Well, and, you know, I think a lot of the business lessons that come up are these deep rooted personal beliefs, and maybe even not a belief that we hold, but somebody told us and we took on a lot of times at a young age. And it shows up in our businesses as entrepreneurs. And so I think if we want to have great businesses, we got to do the personal work to grow and to evolve and to transform and to become who we need to become to be that best and highest entrepreneur and business owner too.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And when you're talking about people starting to be entrepreneurs, how important do you think it is that they discover their personal development beforehand, or how involved do they need to be in that, or how much is it okay for them to learn as they start going?
I think the most important thing, especially for those that are starting out, there are so many different ways to do it. Yes, I think personal development and self-awareness is a part of that. But it doesn't mean if you really want to start a business and you haven't done the work, quote unquote, yet, that you can't be a business owner. You're worthy of that as well. It's just being willing to be really honest with yourself. I think that that's a core skill of being a business owner, that whether you've read a personal development book, you know, done therapy, gone to a seminar, whatever it might look like for you, you have to be willing to have those honest conversations. Because I think if you're not, you're going to put your business at a disservice too. But I think there's a lot of different ways to start. And I think that it can look very different for a lot of people too. I think some of the most basic ways that I work with clients now, some of them have been entrepreneurs for a long time, but they really don't have a connection to themselves, right? They've put all of their energy and effort into their business or into their families and their business, and they really don't leave a lot for themselves. And I find that a lot more with female entrepreneurs. And I think that I see that a lot, and that's rung true a lot in my journey as well. Where we got to fill our own cup first and connect with ourselves, whether that's a quiet walk, time outside in nature, you know, journaling, whatever that practice might be. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but I think it eventually will be part of it. But if you haven't discovered it yet and you're interested in starting a business, that's okay. Just know you're probably going to have to face some things about yourself, because it's going to show up in your business and how you're selling, how you're choosing to market yourself, how you're wanting to be seen, and all of those different things.
My mom always used a great example of, you know, people can't make you react a certain way. She was like, if you choose to be loving and kind and fill your cup that way, then when someone bumps into you or you come across an issue, that's what's going to come out, versus choosing to be angry and bitter or annoyed or discouraged and filling your cup with that, because then that's what's going to come out when you come into hardships. And I mean, we both know as entrepreneurs, you're going to face hard times. And there's going to be times where you look at yourself in the mirror and go, there's no way I'm even suited to do this. But then those are some of the moments where you can grow the most and realize it's okay if I don't have everything together. It's okay if I'm not as good as someone else, because I'm not going to be. We're not going to be the best at everything. which I know for
Well, and we
entrepreneurs
can't
is hard
compare.
too. Yes.
It is hard, but I know social media makes it so easy because you're like, oh my gosh, look at so-and-so. They've done X, Y, and Z. We came up, we were in school together. Why am I not at that level? And it's like that kind of a lens of looking at things. It stifles your own growth. And I think the other thing, like each of our journeys, they're so beautiful and they're so unique.
Right.
What's right for me isn't going to be right for you, isn't going to be right for any one person across the board. And I truly believe that in so many areas of whether it's like what diet we're following, like what we eat, everybody wants to say, oh, my way is the best. My way is the best. Well, I think the part that we're missing is it's the best for you or it's the best for me. And like, I can feel really passionately about something and share it from a loving and compassionate place. Like I love the work that I've done and I want to share it with people, but also with clients. Like I have to feel into that a lot of times and see what are they really ready for? Because if you give somebody something too soon, it can really be detrimental.
Yes.
And so we have to be willing to face ourselves though. And I think that's the thing on entrepreneurship journey, why I say it really is the truest form of personal development, because if you're not willing to face those things and be honest, it's going to be a rough journey. And I say that from not being willing. When I was 22, I didn't know what personal development was.
Right.
And then, really took a winding path, a lot of different places because I didn't have the intention. And so now I get to lead and help entrepreneurs and just people who want to make changes in their lives and do it from a really loving, compassionate place, because I've been lost along the way.
Yeah.
And if we can help anybody kind of see a pattern and make a different choice from a place that they really want to, that's the most amazing gift you can give yourself, to consider a different perspective and be open. So that's why I say that.
Yeah. And that's one thing I love about entrepreneurship too, is, you're going to make mistakes, but you can always use those mistakes for good, whether that be to encourage someone else to be like, hey, watch out for this, or to be like, this is how far I've come. Those things are all developing your personal growth, but it's also developing your business growth. And I love that it can help grow others and you can pour into others that way too.
Absolutely. That's been the one most rewarding part of my journey. Even when I had the marketing agency, I mentored most of the team that worked for me. And some of them have gone on to have their own businesses now. And that's like the coolest part, because like, yes, the success of their clients and their campaigns, and that was great. We won awards and stuff. That was great too, but not what I was doing it for. I used that as validation that I was on the right path, and put that validation outside of myself, which was the problematic side of the awards and the accolades. But to be able to see that impact for a team member who had a spark or a vision to start their own business, and because of your work together, they were able to go and do that. That's the coolest reward, that we can inspire others. And I always say now on my journey, I've been through it, and we all have our own lessons, our own hardships that we go through. And if what we're going through can help just one person, I always feel like it makes it worth it.
Absolutely.
To be able to share from a loving and compassionate place of like, hey, this is what I found on my journey, or this is what didn't work for me, just as something to consider. It doesn't mean it's the only way to do it.
Yes.
But it's just, that gives us more power in the decisions we make each day. And I'm really passionate about helping people be more centered in their decisions.
I love that so much. You've given us so much to think about, both personally and business wise. And I really appreciate you coming on. Where can our listeners find you if they want to reach out to you and learn more about what you do?
This has been amazing today. I so appreciate it. You can learn more about me at stephanieriel.com, and that's RIEL.com. And then I'm on Instagram at I am Stephanie Riel. I'm most active on Instagram, so I always give Instagram a shout out.
Awesome. And we'll have all of that linked down below in the description, so y'all can click onto that. Thank you so much for coming on. This was a pleasure having you.
It was so great. I really appreciate it.